Well, hello. So, this was literally just a random intuitive inclination download, if you'd like to put it that way, of something that I should do. So, here I am, an unscheduled live. Not really sure. I kind of know what I've been experiencing and feeling and what I've been what I wanting to share, which I really haven't. It's I just wanted to come on and kind of share what I'm feeling, what I've been experiencing over the past few years. Um, and for you know, anyone that is needing to hear this message, and I'm gathering that I'm not alone, even though sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes there's just times where I have beautiful people, beautiful souls, but sometimes we feel that we're alone. And I think the journey of entrepreneurship is like that sometimes. So here I am, um, really taking a space of going against really who I am and taking that leap of faith that, being vulnerable sometimes is a sign of power, is a sign of strength, not even power. I like to use that word loosely because power sometimes could be used in a very egotistical way. So, however, as you could tell, I've been feeling very, you know, a lot of emotions, a lot of things going on. And I feel I just wanted to come in and share with you all the journey that I've been on and the birth of Revolution 9 and really share with you the alignments and the choices that I've made, both that have aligned me with the aligned side and the shadow sides, and how the gift of numerology has really helped me to not only build the trust within myself to get through these times of conflicting, contrasting experiences, and finding it within my own soul to trust in the process. And sometimes that could be really, really, really difficult. So, as you can see, I'm here natural, not dolled up. I am here in my sacred space in my bedroom and just being all of me, which is Revolution 9 has been the very aligned side of me. However, the whole point of this live today is for those that are meant to be on and hear this message, or those that are meant to see the replay. This is for you. And of course, reciprocity, this is also for myself because it's time for me to share. So bear with me. The journey of Revolution 9 has been so fulfilling. However, has not been easy at all. Um, my whole life, I've always been perceived as this very stubborn, very strong-willed, you know, somebody, I guess you could say ideally, somebody that really aligns to that masculine energy, that takes action, that, you know, that rigidness and, control, keep going, that raw energy. And the feminine side of me was something I never embraced. expressing emotion, feeling the emotion. Even when I would feel those negative emotions, I would disassociate from my own body because of my own childhood traumas. So I never really knew what it meant to feel all emotions, allow it to let it flow and embrace it all, but not hold on to it because that's where dis-ease is created. So so lot of changes in my life. Left home when I was 14, had, went through, my phases as a teenager, then decided to take a path of conformity, and and it led me to the birth of my two beautiful children, getting married, divorced, and yada yada yada, and then leaving my school board government jobs to pursue entrepreneurship, because that was when I drew that line in the sand, and we're going now 11 years ago. And my story of entrepreneurship starts there. Mind you, lots of detail in between, so lots of life experiences, um, lots of interesting stories. So those are maybe for another day. So my the world of entrepreneurship was really started out 11 years ago in the health and wellness industry, direct sales, network marketing, and a personal development company. And that was where my own personal transformation changed, and learning about healing, learning about investing in self, and growing yourself to grow your business became a concept in my life. And and has since then has been a very, very, very big part of my life. And without going into details, for most of you that know who I am, that I've connected with, and a big part of my entrepreneurial life was the birth of Elite Property Investments, Evolution 6. Evolution 6 was a sub brand, but not really disclosed, but however, existed. Um, sorry, Elite Property Investments, built that business over the course of 7, 8 years, built incredible business to business, business to customer, serviced my customers in mentorship, consulting ways in the area of real estate investing, wealth building. And that is where I became, a brand here in the Niagara region, became known of, as the person to come to for your Niagara region real estate investment needs, where I was able to service from A to Z. So, whether you were looking for off market opportunities, you were looking for lending, private lending, trades, contractors, uh, service providers, whatever it was, I had those databases of vetted businesses that could service those specific needs. And and i i loved what I did. So that aspect of building that was my soul code day of birth for. So that's your execution code, that is your beginning code. And for anyone knows, the number 4 is the master builder number, the architect. So one of my superpowers is to build things, and 4 is also representative of real estate. So funny enough, it aligned very well, and I loved what I did. However, there was a part of me that was not being satisfied, and that was the soul aspect and aligning with my life's purpose. That was a part of me that I couldn't even show, which is the person you fully see now. The person that, I consider myself to be very spiritual, however, very pragmatic and very practical. So I I love the 4, and I embrace that 4 aspect of me, of building systems, creating foundation, and those systematic practical things we need in lives. Your four people are the people that build those strong foundations. These are your people. These are your managers. These are your leaders. These are the people, the practical people that you could 100% rely on, trust in, because they are providing those infinite and strong foundational skills and practical products. And the fours also master the practical world. However, the four is also a manifestation number, and it's also a very intuitive number. And that for me has been an aspect that has really has not has I've really had to quiet myself and listen and really take that in, because my whole life being in survival mode has always taken me down route of taking things in a very logical, in a very linear, in a very ego based way. And the four is asking you to channel and listen to that intuitive insight, then based on those intuitive insights to take action. The thing that I learned with using numerology was I was actually doing it the other way around. I was still Nothing really ever prevented me from taking that action. However, it was aligning with my logic, my mind, and the four is asking you to do the other side, is listening to that right brain, listening to that channeled, those downloads, those gut instincts, then take action on that, which I will say are always different from what the logical mind is telling you. The logical mind is there to protect you. It wants to keep you safe, and it wants to keep you small, because it doesn't want you to it does it's essentially there to keep you safe. So, in essence, it will always keep you small. So, that is the road that I took. I trusted it, I mastered it. So, learning this beautiful divination tool of numerology and understanding that, yes, I aligned with that four and I really resonate with that four. However, I wasn't listening to my intuition and I wasn't trusting. The biggest thing was because living in a space of survival, we create unconscious neurological patterns. And sometimes we are aware of those patterns. And when we're aware, we can make those changes, in different ways. But when we're not aware of those patterns, we're working it very subconsciously. These habitual patterns, these strategies that we have are sometimes very unconscious and we're not aware of them. So, so needless to say, going back to my journey with elite property investments as a consultant and as a real estate investor, had had many successful investment opportunities, had many successful clients, and really serviced my clients and my team in win-win-win ways, which was a very, very, very big aspect, which is still a part of me. There has to be a win in all part, as well as for us. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we give ourselves too much. We give ourselves to others too much, and we're unable to replenish for ourselves. And this is where boundary settings come in. But anyways, so going through the journey, I loved what I did, but like I said, it was I couldn't fully be myself. Now think about this. Most of my clients were investors. Now if I were to go and start talking to them about spirituality, vibration, and numbers and vibration of numbers, you know, for those that were a little bit open, I would share that aspect of myself. But for the most part, I really wasn't sharing that aspect. Now, however, how I would. share that aspect is because if I would go into a house, for example, or if I knew that I was showing an opportunity or something didn't align intuitively, or say that the actual property or the address of that property didn't really um, didn't really resonate with, say, my client's soul codes, because I always wanted to make sure that I kind of had basic information of who they were. So, and I did that strategically. So these were ways that I really would share, but would be very logical about saying, well, you know what, maybe this opportunity is not for you. Let's try this one. I would never really share and say, well, you know what, this address is not a very is a very it's a very challenging address. So maybe we should try another one. I would never share that way, and it was hard for me to not be me in that sense. However, you know, I would share that with the people that were open and receptive to this space. So there was always a gap of me feeling, that I wasn't fully being me. So not that I was being inauthentic, but I couldn't just be me to the fullest of who I was. So and and that stayed with me all those years. However, being a visionary, I had my projections, I had my long-term plans, and I knew that the real estate was a stepping stone to where I was going. So, and it played a very big role. However, as a four, you know, we get into these spaces of rigidness, and you get it, and even as humans, you don't even have to have a four. But we get into these spaces of rigidness or we get into our comfort zone. And we really don't want to move from that space because we know what to expect, even though day to day my experiences were changing. However, I I had a strong foundational business. I had my teams. I had opportunities coming to me. There was no shortage of anything in the sense of what I couldn't handle. And that was my comfort zone. That's my form. However, the thing that was lacking. So now let's talk about my personal life purpose number, which is a 33-6. Very different vibration. And the life purpose is all about the roadmap. It's the blueprint. It's why you are here and how you're meant to be maneuvering and how that journey unfolds. And I'm a 33-6, so a master number 33, which all is all about self-expression, being fully out there, expressing yourself to the fullest of who you are, being creative. And I was aligned with that because I was very creative in how I serviced my clients with real estate, looking at the bigger pictures and looking at the creative side of aspect. However, the self-expression part was something I wasn't expressing. And with a master number, that is a prevalent aspect of that full self-expression, communication. So, and then the six is all about service with responsibility. So that service with responsibility was also in alignment with, home, your space. It's it's a number of the cosmic parent. So it's a very nurturing, it's a very supportive, it's a very supportive number. And it's also a very loving and compassionate. So these are beautiful feminine energy qualities. So so there was definitely a disconnect between what I had built in this aspect. And and it was interesting because for I'd say a good 5 years, source was telling me we need to pivot. We need to pivot. We need to rebend. We need to extend to basically what revolution is now. I denied that fact for many, many years. And and It all started to unfold in 2022. I'm not going to go into the deep nitty gritty details because I've already been on here for 20 minutes. However, that was the year of transformation. And anyone who has watched my video of transformation, transformation is, people think transformation is this beautiful thing. No, it's not. In my opinion, and even when I work with clients and see that transformation, it is a very tumultuous, it could be a tumultuous, and it could be a very difficult journey. However, there is always, if you could keep aligning and see, and just even if you can't see, but just envision that light at the end of the tunnel, you'll get there. And that's where, when you get to that space of that transformation, that light, that is where, and it usually takes time to get that to that point. However, you know I really procrastinated, not so much procrastinating, but I really was resistant to making that pivot, even though I knew I was being called to make this pivot. And and that's what ended up happening. It in 2022, 2023, my life, literally, in every single aspect you could think of, everything I built over the course of those 8 years, friendships that I've built, life circumstances that I was in that comfort zone in, everything changed. And when I said a 360, literally everything changed. And it was completely out of my control. However, it was interesting. It was 2022. There was an investment opportunity um, that I approached some partners of mine and brought in some other people to be part of this opportunity, which was outside of my wheelhouse of skill sets, which was a flip opportunity. Um, the partners that I went in with, I fully embraced and entrusted them with the process because they had more practical experience in flips, where was more of your multifamily commercial person. So, however, I was excited to be the student, and I took that to heart and to soul, that I would be the student and I would learn through this experience, because this was a stepping stone, because I saw myself of getting into development. Sure, not so much development, but being a private, like a builder, but in a very creative way later on in life. So I saw this as that first stepping stone of me learning and getting dirty and being part of a whole renovation, a whole flip, and utilizing the revenues from that, the profits from that, for my that was going to be part of my long-term goal of basically building. Actually, you know what? Stay tuned for that. So, brought in my partners, we went into this opportunity. It was offered through a trusted colleague of mine, a real estate agent. However, long story short, I made some decisions that not proud of. I made some really bad decisions of behaviors and actions that I took. And one of the things that I've learned now is I really didn't trust myself, and didn't ask the questions, and didn't really embrace who I was at that time. And and while going through this investment opportunity, I had other projects with other people going on as well. And it was interesting because as I was working through this and working through these other opportunities and still trying to live life, and I knew this flip was I we said about we projected about 4 months. I had an extra 2 months of financial contingency so that I could literally walk away from a lead to not have to work for 6 months and still be able to live. So, long story short, the decisions I've made, the decisions I made and how things unfolded literally blew up. What that created was, long story short, the highest financial distress because I qualified and applied for the mortgage, everything, the corporations, elite property investments, everything, like even specific to deal, this investment deal was under my name. Not only was there a significant loss of finances of what we put in, time, money, and energy, there was losses in all aspects. Friendships and the opportunity. Um, Elite property investment went completely insolvent, and a debt stack of almost a quarter of a million. So, and that was all on me. So, needless to say, I've gone through, being an entrepreneur, you need to go with the flows of ups and downs. And I've gone through different experiences, never bankruptcy, but I've gone through other experiences that have led to financial distresses because of sometimes we make investments that are higher in risk and not. And it's taking those risks, those calculated risks, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And that's okay. It's being able to have that behavioral flexibility in going through those experiences that allows you to move to that next step. So that opportunity really took me to a place of, if you want to look back then, and I'm just speaking as if I was back then, perceived losses, um, and then had to file for bankruptcy. The sugar, the cherry on top throughout that whole experience, because of those other opportunities which fell apart outside of the investment opportunity, also literally blew up in a way that really impacted my reputation and impacted some relationships on those levels as well. And um and it was as if that, this that was the time I knew that that resistance that I had all those years, that this was my sign that I'm done. I have no business left, literally. I had to file for bankruptcy, and the business was insolvent. The investment opportunity, had a debt stack. I had to literally close everything down and start from scratch. And the cherry on top, all the midst of me selling that investment opportunity finally after a year using private money, my father at 60 years old had a heart attack and died unexpectedly. So, being the older sister, yes, I expressed my emotions in the sense of that shock and sadness. Um, However, being a spiritual leader, I had an understanding of many different aspects to why that happened, which really, my dad was in good health. There was nothing that would have led to us knowing that that would have happened. Went to the doctors regularly. So, really, it was just like a very unexpected event. And and this was literally in the midst of going through that investment experience. So it was a very difficult, this was in April of 2023. Needless to say, going through that experience, everything was insolvent. I really didn't have any assets left. I was in a rental property. I was in a rental property specifically because the profits from that was going to lead me to my next project, which was basically not going to be here in Canada. So, needless to say, I didn't even want to be holding any assets because I knew that eventually I wasn't going to be here. So So everything worked out in the sense that the bankruptcy, there was really no assets that were going to be confiscated and I didn't have to deal. So it was a very simple 1 year bankruptcy. I took that time to really reflect, learn, and heal. And during this time, even a few years prior to this moment, I started working with beautiful souls and mentors that I had in my life in the space of surrendering to my higher self, surrendering to letting go of that control and surrendering to, you know, to source and my guides and finding that trust within myself to really not control the journey and the process. And so that was a pivotal time. Even though I was already on that journey, I took that year to really, really take that time, sort out, and and really did the complete opposite of my day of birth 4, which is all about taking action, planning, strategizing. I completely let that go and embraced my 33-6 and really started towards the end planning for to align to my true destiny, my true destiny code of a 72-9, which is all about the humanitarian number, group consciousness. It's the number of leadership, it's the number of groups, it's the number of really servicing in a very spiritual and a very loving and a very compassionate way, which is also like the 6. Because if you look at it, the 9 is a 6 is the inverted 9. So there is a lot of beauty. Plus, the 6 and the 9 are in the feeling, emotional self expression triad, which is all about that inner work. So I really started to learn and embrace those aspects of my own important soul codes. And that right there was the birth of Revolution 9. So, it's it really hasn't been easy. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my story. I know I've been going on for 32 minutes, and should anybody come on or anybody watching this, please comment. So, the one thing and what many people know that know me well is that my love and my passion for numbers and for this divination tool. And it's been a study of mine for years since I've gotten my certification and really started learning about this aspect and use it and have used it in my personal life for years. And and for the past few years, I've been studying this and how to use this tool in business and how that shows up. And that's really what I have built to this point and using it in a very practical way. A divination tool, um, a lot of people could look, it's like this airy fairy type of stuff. However, as a very logical, a very practical person myself, which I've had to learn to trust in those channeled energies and those intuitive insights that I receive. Um, and it's been reprogramming this to really trust in that. And thank God for hypnosis and hypnocode, which hypnocode is my baby. And hypnosis has really helped me get out of the space of crazy. And to be honest, the year that followed that 2022, 2023, if it wasn't for my daily hypnosis practice and meditation and grounding, um, I probably literally would have went crazy. Anyone who experienced, and I'm just sharing the main things, all the filler and things in between, the aftermath and everything that kind of flowed in between these main events. And, you know, I haven't shared. However, too much to tell. I could do a whole workshop on that. So the lesson, numerology has really blessed my life in giving me the clarity, giving me the direction, making those strategic plans that are soul fulfilling. The thing that I'm at a point now, and what the part of me that I've been feeling to come on and share this with you now is, we're in this, for those of you that have been following, I've been doing a 4-part series in my YouTube lives bi-weekly on the 10-1 code. We are in a universal, everyone's experiences 10-1 energy. And it's a very momentous, it's a very quick, and it's a manifestation number of energy into matter. So this is the thing. Everything starts from energy, everything starts from a thought, then at some point manifests into physical form. That's how energy works. So, quantum physics. So, however, we are, and I've done a lot of these YouTube lives which are posted on my YouTube channel, and I've talked a lot about that. And on top of that, we also have our own personal years. And so I'm in a personal year 16/7. So the 7 year is all about, it's a sabbatical year. It's a very slow year. It's a year of really gaining knowledge. It's a year of uh, listening to your intuitive insights. It's a year of, gaining that knowledge and doing some research and, taking courses. It's a year of planning because mm, your year 8 is all about that manifestation, goal setting, money, frequency, the 8. So this is also your grounding planning phase, building that blueprint. So funny enough, being in a year 1, which is all about taking action, my own personal year is saying, no, you need to get out in nature and take it easy and just plan. So there's still elements, even if I'm not physically taking action, there's still that creation aspect of it. So gaining the knowledge, doing the research, planning things for that year 8, um, so that one energy still has my back. However, I don't know if any of you have been experiencing that, just that things happening so quickly. Like, look, we just celebrated New Year's and we're already in mid-month February. Like, how fast has this time gone? I I can't even imagine. I can't even express, like, you know, we're getting close to the end of our first quarter in a month and a half. And and it's been crazy because I had all these plans for this first quarter, and things haven't folded that way. So that's the thing, you need to be really careful. And this is the one thing, when you're able to really learn and know who you are on those vibrational spiritual levels, who you are innately, how you take action, how you move. What is the purpose? What is your roadmap and why you are here? And how you are meant to be expressing, how you're meant to be expressing yourself through your life's work. Are you aligned or are you exhibiting the shadow side? So, a moment of vulnerability. The, this has been this new year has brought in a lot of challenges for me that I'm still mid-month February recouping from. And it hasn't been easy. It really hasn't been easy. And and I've been noticing when I've been looking at my languaging and the thoughts that are going on in my head. I've never really considered myself to be a negative person. And for many people that know me, know me more as more of that empowerment coach, as opposed to somebody that, oh, I'm still really not that person that complains. But the negative mindset and the scarcity. So, scarcity could be on so many different levels. I've been noticing a lot of scarcity on time for me. I don't know if anyone's been experiencing that too. However, even on, the business levels and feeling misaligned in what it is that I'm doing or what it is that I'm creating, because I'm taking not so much of a strategic approach, which is what I'm used to. The thing is, I know that if I were to align to those old patterns of behaviors and those old way of doing things, I know where that goes. And because Revolution 9 is all about that balance, is understanding who you are, assessing who you are, aligning to those aspects of who you are vibrationally, and using that information to be able to practically, consciously, emotionally, mentally, physically move forward. But it's really finding the balance between that left brain and that right brain. It's really finding that balance between intuition and practical, and that has been a bit of a struggle for me. And it's been contrasting in the sense because my mind's telling me, we need to do this, we need to take action, we need to do this. And I'll tell you that is being emphasized by the energy. If you have, those take action codes, like the 1, the 4, and those take action codes in your blueprint, you're naturally going to, that's naturally going to be, um, come out. However, the 1 is also, this 10-1 code is also emphasizing those take actions. However, it's taking those intuitive, it's aligning with the higher vibration and taking action on that, not taking action on what your mind is saying, because those are patterns of behavior that you've lived with your whole life, and this is how you innately do things. Or not even innately, that's more so, that's a pattern that you've created, that we've created within our own minds, and the energies aren't asking us to do that. So it's stepping back. So in some of my videos, the one thing that has really helped me, and what has really helped to differentiate, if you really don't know what is inspired action versus what is my logic telling me. Is my logic telling me I need to do this? Is it the 10-1 energy that's emphasizing that? Really, you really want to take those inspired actions, not the logical ego action. So how do you tell the difference? The best way that has worked for me is not taking action right away. Give yourself 48 hours. If you find that you're taking 48 hours on that idea, in 48 hours, when you come to revisit it, how does it make you feel? Does it still have that passion and that excitement, and do you still feel the same way of taking action as you did when you first received it? If yes, that's inspired action. That's your higher self, that's your intuition, that's source, whatever your belief is. That's inspired action. However, on the flip side, After 48 hours, if that passion, that idea, that inclination of taking action has diminished even a little bit, and you're kind of now in a point of being, that was your ego. That was your conscious or unconscious pattern of behavior coming out. That's the most simplistic way. By all means, anyone here would like to say hi or have any questions. so, so yeah, this space has really helped me learn, grow. Um, the biggest part is trusting. I think our life experiences has could really create these beliefs within ourselves that we're not good enough, or you know that self whatever self-sabotaging belief systems that we have, and we don't really need to go into all of them. you know Unworthiness, believing that we're not good enough, believing that we're not successful, believing that nobody likes us, we're unloved, we're unsupported, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you're struggling with right now. And for me, the scarcity around time has been a big thing, and the biggest thing emotionally for me is I feel that I'm there's so much there's so much skills, experience, knowledge, even the support I get from my clients' guides, source, there's such an abundance within me of truly helping and serving people in creative ways. However, there's this thing in my head that says that that I'm not serving enough, you know, limiting belief, limiting decision. And it's been really not the easiest time. Is anyone experiencing that now? I don't know. Is there anyone that's actually experiencing that? Because I've been feeling that for a while, that I'm creating all these products and services. I'm excited. I just launched. I've made the decision. So, to give you context, I've been focused on building my um, do it yourself. For anyone, if you're anything like me, your do it yourself programs using numerology in business, and really learning, being trained on using this in a very, very practical, creative, however, intuitive way, and also encompassing the personal development aspect of getting out of your own way and building these programs. And this has been going on for about 6 months. However, I've been going through roadblocks building these programs. So fulfilling that aspect of not being of service as I build these do-it-yourself programs, um, which I'm so excited about. I've decided I got the inclination of going back to opening up 4 spots of vibrational logic, um, blueprint creation consultancy, where I'm essentially building and getting, and helping you solidify, build, plan strategically using your codes, using numerology, and in different ways. And I'm actually facilitating it and creating this for you in the sense of, you know, of building that blueprint and us working together through this consultancy. So looking at your business, so looking at your leadership persona, which are your soul codes, and looking at your business's entity and power codes, and seeing if there's a disconnect or a synergy and what that looks like. Your business could be asking something, however, you as leader are doing something completely different. And is there conflict between the two that could be creating that stuckness, procrastination, that whatever it is that you're experiencing, that there's not flow? And I've been called to open up these four spots, you know, and I've created these three different packages that have so many sessions. All my sessions that I do in the space of numerology are pretty much in this aspect of business outside of my intuitive readings, but specifically business consultancy are always 90 minutes long, and we go through those diagnostics, we go through those analysis, and we create using the information from the stars to build, so that you're working with the energies of your product launches, of your business, of everything. So we're looking and we're diagnosing and taking everything apart and looking at all aspects, so and aligning you in a practical and strategic way that aligns with the energies. So that's essentially what I've been creating and saying, and it's been exciting because I literally just this week finished my packages, and in the process of launching those. However, not something that was planned again. And it's kind of taken me back because now it's something new that's come up that wasn't part of my first quarter plan. However, I think in business we need to have the behavioral flexibility to pivot and change. And I think ultimately it's it's finding that balance between your logical mind and that intuition. And opening these 4 spots up was not something that I had planned, was not part of my Q1 launches. It was not That was completely an intuitive insight and download that I need to be doing now. And sometimes we procrastinate, or we aren't even cognizantly aware, or we're not trusting that we get these ideas. We have no idea where they come from, and we dismiss them. And what I've learned, being somebody that's been there, is that is where life becomes hard. That's where business becomes hard. So taking a very different approach, still having my plans, however, having the behavioral flexibility to pivot. And I think as a successful entrepreneur, you need to have that flexibility to pivot, and being okay, as Wayne Dyer always says. I'm drawing a blank right now. Be open to everything. Thank you. Be open to everything and attached to nothing. Don't get attached to your plans. Be open to the possibility of pivot. Be open to the possibility of making those changes. And never, ever, ever get attached to the results, and never get attached to those plans. Because when you do, the, creating that rigidness is only going to make things hard. And making things hard means you're doing something wrong. There's something that's not right, because things need to flow. And for somebody that has a lot of earth signs and a lot of logical codes, sometimes that could be difficult. And I think this is part of what I've been experiencing, is because the one thing with the mind is when we hit contrasting events, we revert to old patterns of behavior. So, for me, that's survival mode. And the way survival mode shows up in my life is working hard, taking action, work, work, becoming a workaholic. That feeds an unconscious need that I'm actually doing something. But really, that's of a shadow side of aspect of a four, to give you an example. So the question is, are you exhibiting those shadow sides of your own personal codes? And it being emphasized by the 10-1 code. And I've been experiencing a lot of that lately. And and I love, like, creating creating for me. So my 33 really comes out really significantly. I love to create things. So whether like programs, content, anything that you see within Revolution 9 is is my creation. And yes, utilizing technology in a way that enhances and uses that in a way has been a huge learning curve. So technology is not something that I really ever really fully embraced. However, we're in a technological world, and I love the ability of being able to create from those soul levels, and then refining it using technology, or needing information about something that I might need, and it's really, and that's the whole purpose. I definitely don't agree with using technology to replace that that creative aspect of who we are and doing the work for us, but enhancing and creating something that is coming from those soul levels and then being enhanced using technology, I think is such a beautiful thing. And it's taken me some time to even embrace that aspect, because technology was not something really that I fully embraced as much as I do now. Like here, I'm able to come online at any point and talk, and share. And, so see, so me coming on, it's so funny. I came on here to share, which I have been, and this has not been easy for me, sharing the distresses and sharing everything that I have shared with you, expressing my emotions, which is something that I normally, you know, don't do. However, sometimes we need to do that. We need to just open ourselves up and be vulnerable and share. However, the nine in me, the trainer, because the nine is also that leader, trainer, um, leader in groups, hence why I'm building my YouTube channel, and building my internal communities, my Revolution 9 Wholeness Collective, beautiful collective that I'm building for those interested in joining, anyone that will be connecting, that are looking to work with me, whether that's through my programs or one on ones, will be entering into this exclusive group of community entrepreneurs, members that are looking to connect with other like-minded business owners, and others that are, even whether you're inspired to take action and get into business, whatever that may be, and connect with other people that ha- may have the same stories, may have gone through the same contrasting experiences, that have seen the light and are on their path and aligned to what they're doing. So, this community is a beautiful community of like minded. And so, that nine trainer side has been so emphasized even in this video, training is a big thing, mentoring. Even when I'm being vulnerable, there's still that aspect of me that just wants to share and teach. And that's the nine. That's the nine code that comes out just very, um, very unconsciously. See, as you could see, just going on and talking this way and sharing this way. So, is just this is the nine coming out. So anything here that you have seen me teach you, train you, that is the nine code. So I think I need to wrap up. This has been over 60 minutes now. Wow, of me talking nonstop. So I think we're going to wrap this up now. Um, Happy Family Day. I am now going to, now that I have let this go and I have shared with you, I'm so blessed and thank you for giving this opportunity. And for anybody who's watching this replay, uh, if you feel that this could help somebody, or anyone that you feel that would be of value, that needs that guidance, and if that's you, connect with me in my description here. um, I have my entrepreneurial soul code quiz. So if you are new to numerology, this is an assessment quiz that will depict the energies based on the questions, the energies that you're expressing. Now the question really is, are those energies that you're expressing through the quiz, are they aligned to your actual soul codes? So it'll be interesting to see. So link is in the description, and take the quiz and have some fun with it. Anyone wanting to learn more specifics on my vibrational logic business consultancy. I'm giving 30 minutes complimentary consultation where we could connect and talk. Link to my calendar is in the description as well. And also want to share, stay tuned to go more. I'm actually doing a 2-hour workshop, but it's going to be a very unique style type of workshop where we are going to do, it's a vibrational logic mastery blueprint, where we are going to be creating, you get this phenomenal workbook that I've put together, where you're going to be figuring out your 3 soul codes, and you'll have step-by-step instructions, and you'll also be figuring out your personal year, month, and day cycles. And when we get on together, Thursday, March 26th from 2 to 4 p.m. That day, you're going to come in with all your codes, and we're actually going to strategically and intuitively channel the energies that I receive. And so, intuitively and strategically, we are going to plan out your next 3 quarters. So, if you have any product launches, any rebranding, any service launches, anything, big events that you might be hosting that you want to plan, we are going to work together to work with the energies of your personal power day, power month, and see what year you're in and what that's telling you need to be doing now. And we are going to strategically plan the remainder of your year. So, very excited about this workshop. So, stay tuned for that. And other than that, I think, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for anyone who has completely listened to this. And share, please subscribe, share, like. If you know that this would actually help somebody, um, please share. And comment below if you have any questions. I love receiving your comments. And until then, my next YouTube live will be back to our normal time, which I believe it's not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Don't know the exact date of when that is, and it'll be from 2 to 3. So come in with your codes, come in with your questions, and you'll be receiving your free intuitive readings. So this is kind of my give back every 2 weeks, and I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, go with the flow of your energy and trust in the process. Trust in the process of life and your business. Until then, take care.